All right, 10 months, 40 episodes. Let's see what we're doing this week stat-wise. Is that it? Is that genuinely it? I've been doing this for the best part of a year. A year! I interviewed a bloke who invented a SaaS platform that I still don't even understand. I recorded an episode in my wardrobe. I bought a pop filter from Amazon. I named it Derek. That's it. I'm telling Janet on Monday, podcasting is a load of bum sponge. I'm done.
Hi. Neal here. Slide the laptop away. Put Derek down. Because you're not failing. You're measuring against the wrong clock. And by the end of the next few minutes, you're either going to feel enormously relieved or mildly devastated. And I genuinely can't tell you which yet, because that bit's on you. We'll figure it out together, though. Hold that thought. Welcome to B2B Podcasting Insights with me, Neal Veglio. I am the founder and operator of Podknows Podcasting. We're a podcast agency that helps people like you get results from your podcast, whether that be help you launch one, manage it for you, or just help you along the way with coaching and consulting. Right, the 10-month panic. Let's dig into this, shall we? Because every B2B podcast that I have audited has the same issue. It's Sunday night. The founder is 10 months in, roughly 40 episodes or so deep, and they're staring at their download stats like they owe them money. The line's not flat exactly, but it's not hockey stick growth either. It's not even bowling ball growth, to be fair. It's definitely not the absolute flange that some podcasting guru on LinkedIn has peddled to them constantly for months. And now the CFO is doing their usual annual review, looking at all the line items and thinking, podcasting, what are we getting from this? In fact, the mere mention of the word podcast leads to facial expressions that haven't been seen since people started noticing that pongy whiff from the office plant that nobody seemed to like just before it died. So the founder panics. They Google, how long should a B2B podcast take to work while they're sat down on the toilet pan on a Sunday night at 11 p.m. And I'm going to level with you, that's not how functional human beings should be making strategic decisions. Certainly not when it comes to business. It's how you end up joining an engagement pod on Monday morning and wondering why your engagement looks great, but your results are tanking. Stop it, all right? Just stop it. Here's what nobody bothered to tell you. Almost certainly because those people claim to be podcasting experts on LinkedIn have launched precisely one podcast, their own. And it's probably called something like Leadership Unlocked. You're not 10 months into your podcast. You're closer to 6, probably 5, possibly 4 if it took you a while to figure out how to send MP3s to your RSS hosting dashboard. Anyway, you're definitely not 10 months into your podcast, even though you think you are. And there's no shame in that at all. Let me explain. The clock that most founders who are podcasting judge time by is the day they publish their first episode. And that is the wrong time to start the clock ticking. I mean, it makes sense on paper. Podcast published. Start timing. Results. The podcast exists. It's live. It's listed in Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Maybe on YouTube. So TikTok. Fine. I get it. Except that's not the clock that matters in business when it comes to podcasts. Cue inspirational Gary Vaynerchuk line here.
Just keep showing up. Consistency is the cheat code. Document, don't create.
Thanks, Gary, mate. Go on your little whiteboard for a while, will you? The grown-ups are talking over here. The clock that actually matters and is applicable to what you're doing probably should have started ticking at episode 15. And yes, that number is deliberate. I've come up with that intentionally. And that's because every B2B branded podcast that I've ever audited sounds very different from episode 15. And that's because every B2B branded podcast that I've audited, and trust me, that's hundreds, if not more. They sounded very different from episode 1 than they did at episode 15, and different again at episode 30. Episode 1, you're still figuring out where to put your microphone. Episode 3, you're apologizing because the intro music is still too loud over your voice. Episode 6, you tried something weird, didn't work. Episode 7, you're starting to pretend the podcast didn't exist in the first place. Episode 11, you're restructuring your entire format because you're pretending that episode 6 never happened. Episode 13, you're finally starting to figure out who this show is for. And spoiler alert, it's not business leaders, because that's not an audience. That's a LinkedIn category. So episode 15 is probably the first episode where the show starts to sound like what the show is. Everything before that is a full dress rehearsal. It just happened to be published, which is great. You've got a reference to look back on and compare what you're putting out now with what you were putting out then, and I guarantee it's improved. And your audience doesn't build a relationship with your dress rehearsals, it builds a relationship with you showing up as you are in the current form. They build a relationship with a show that has stabilized into the thing it is now. The one that sounds the same pretty much week after week after week. Not boring, just reliable. So if you're at month 10 with around 40 episodes done, published, the real clock, the one that your audience is actually timing you by, that started 15 episodes ago. So you're 6 months in, not 10. 6. Which may well end up being the most relieving sentence you've heard this week relating to your podcast, especially if that CFO is still looking at you and the whole podcasting team just like you killed that plant in the corner of the office. Suddenly your stats aren't a disaster and you can present that to your CFO. You can say, these are not the stats of a 10-month podcast. These are the stats of a 6-month podcast. And they're doing pretty much what a 6-month in podcast will do. A good one. So congratulations, you're normal. Go put the kettle on. Don't go pouring the water into any plants. Now, before you go making the beast for $2 with your download stats, I can't believe I just said that. Wow. Let me restate that. Before you go celebrating your podcast stats with this new reframe in mind, just pump the brakes a second. All of this is not a permission slip. It's a diagnostic. I'm not letting you off the hook on progress here, and I'm not letting you off the hook on learning from your mistakes. There are probably two types of founders that are listening to this right now, okay? And only one of them gets to take all this as good news. The other one is straight shitting their pants. And they're about to have a rough few minutes. Sorry in advance. Go grab your favorite comfort biscuit and then click play to continue. Founder number 1, your show's been developing. Your voice has sharpened. The format has settled into something relatively recognizable now. You're starting to become a little bit more predictable in terms of giving the listener what they want. You can probably describe who the show is in one sentence, without taking a breath, without saying the word leaders, and without resorting to talking about thought leadership, because nobody wants to hear that. Someone on your sales team might have actually sent a prospect that they're talking to a link to an episode of your podcast recently, and you didn't even prompt them to do it. They took it on themselves because they liked what you were putting out, and they felt to themselves, wow, this can really help me close with this client. The show at episode 30 sounds way more confident than the show did at episode 3 when they were just nodding along in agreement that what you were doing was great, but they would never in a million years share it with any prospects. That's progress. So if that's you, you're at month 6 of real work. Well done. Stop panicking and start compounding. Take the congratulations from me, you've earned it. Founder number 2. Right, brace yourself. Your show is lost. The format changes depending on who you've managed to cajole into being a guest that week. You still describe the show with a list of topics, and you're probably including leadership, strategy, innovation, synergy, disruption, usually in that order, with culture occasionally sneaking in somewhere as well. Nobody inside your business has ever forwarded an episode of your show to any of their prospects, and probably never will as it stands right now. They're probably a bit embarrassed. To be honest, even your mum only listens now and again so that you don't feel bad when you ask her, "What do you like about my podcast, Mum?" And she goes, that thing where you did the thing. In your case, episode 30 sounds pretty much the same as episode 3. You've just learned how to talk into the mic slightly better. If that's you, I'm sorry, because this reframe that I'm sharing in this episode, it doesn't save you. You got more work to do. You're not at month 6 of real work. You're at month 10 of no work. Sorry, it is true. The clock hasn't started at all yet because you're not in the position where it can start to compound and grow. The show's never stabilized into anything meaningful, so there's nothing to start timing against. And no amount of patient, consistent showing up, publishing on a Tuesday is going to change that. Not the way it is right now. So you need to make a decision about your show. You don't need to wait it out. Waiting it out is what is killing your podcast. So how do you work out which founder you are? Okay, well, here's the deal. Monday, you've got 2 jobs. 10 minutes. Job 1, pull your 3 most recent episodes. Listen to the opening 90 seconds of each, back to back. Do they sound like the same show? As in, they got the same energy, the same structure, the same what's in it for me for the listener? If yes, great, well done. Your format has settled. You've got a show that's stable and ready to grow. The clock started ticking and you're fine. You're golden. If each one sounds like a completely different podcast that's just hosted by 3 different people in 3 slightly different ways, then your clock hasn't started, and I got news for you. You're going to have to make a real decision now. Job 2, find somebody that's responsible for growing your business with sales, business development, whatever you want to call it, and ask them exactly this. In the last month, have you sent a single prospect a link to an episode of our podcast that addresses a real concern that they've raised with you during a discovery call? If the answer is yes, brilliant. The show's doing what it's there to do. If the answer's, no, I didn't really think about the podcast like that. I didn't know that was a thing. Well, there you go. You've just been told your sales team don't even have any value held in your podcast whatsoever. And that is why you're doing it, for them. Your show's not embedded into the sales process in any way, shape or form. And until it is, the clock doesn't start for you. So here you go. 2 checks, 10 minutes total, considerably more useful than another Sunday night sat on the pan considering joining engagement pods. Panic scrolling Spotify for podcasters while your partner's in the other room watching something great on the telly without you because you're not in the mood for fun.
Hey, stop working for a minute and come join me. We have to watch this.
And you might be asking yourself, why does any of this matter? I mean, I just want to do the podcast and, it's for vanity reasons anyway. Not particularly looking to get sales from it. That's excuses. Excuse after excuse after excuse. This matters because both failure modes come from the wrong clock. This matters because your show has a job to do. And if you need to know more about shows doing jobs, we had an episode about this. Go to podknows.co.uk, click B2B Podcasting Insights, and you will see all the episodes listed and look for the episode that mentions what job is your podcast doing. You need to know which clock you're on, and then you need to act. So get to it and make a decision. If you're founder 2, you need to make that decision. So get to it, do the exercise, and if you are founder 2, you need to make a decision, and you know where I am if you want me to help you with it.